All right, question 2. Recently, Trump was banned on all platforms. Let's talk about censorship, Big Brother, and the future of censorship.
Censorship.
I know, it's crazy. Is this the first time that it's, I mean, this is like the biggest, like, what do we do here? What's right? What's wrong? Right? That you can remember is like, I mean, the president of the United States being kicked off Twitter and every other platform.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Snapchat
man.
and Spotify. He can't even listen to music.
So Twitter.
Yeah,
what
is Spotify doing? I guess like why is Spotify?
Facebook owns Spotify, right?
No.
Oh.
Facebook owns Instagram, but also YouTube, Snapchat, and Twitch. And then I have like and some other ones which
like
so
I guess
okay.
I guess like after all the other options, like Trump would not be above streaming on Twitch to get his message out, to have his voice heard. So I guess I get it.
I mean, what the idea of what he did, he didn't, by the record, he did not tell people to go storm the Capitol building, but it's bad. I think against democracy is bad. He definitely encouraged it. He absolutely encouraged it.
So I think that I'm conflicted because like, I think it's a slippery slope to ban people from social media. Like this is a private company for sure. Right. But it's like social media is not, it's not really private. Like Twitter it's like going into it's
important.
Right. It's like going into it's like protesting, right? You can say whatever you want.
Exactly.
Like there will be consequences, but here's the thing. Like I think that it can be argued, and I would argue that he was encouraging and kind of inciting violence, and that you cannot do. So okay. I understand that. Question is like, where is the line? You know what I mean? Like where is it okay? Where is it not?
And one of the reasons why like censorship is bad, I didn't even mean to bring this up, but like the Dub Fest thing, like the mayor, the vice president, like, but the power that I still had was that Facebook page. Mm-hmm. Like if they couldn't control that, and obviously this isn't on the level of that, but like that is like the power that people have is like these things, these platforms. So I'm kind of okay with them temporarily doing it as long as it's temporary. Here's something I have a huge issue with, and this is two of the things that they did. So they also Amazon Web Services. A lot of people don't know this, but Amazon Web Services it's a host. Like if you want to start a website, you buy a domain name and like you need a host. You need somebody to host your website.
Or you have servers,
or you have your own servers, which people starting their own website don't do. You need someone to host your website. You pay like a couple bucks a month to get hosting. So Amazon Web Services is the biggest host. And people don't know that how that's such a big part of Amazon's business. They hosted Parler, which is I actually have an account. I didn't know it was like right wing when I downloaded it. I just always get the new social medias. I don't like going to that level of the host to take down a website or an account. That is too far off the line for me. The other thing is Shopify, which they took down Trump stores. See, I can understand if it's in Amazon or an Etsy and they are public marketplaces and they don't want you to go to their store, Etsy.com, type in Trump and they don't want the stuff to come up. Shopify, which my site is hosted on, it's not a platform where you go and buy sell things. It's a platform that hosts your e-commerce website. Like I should be able to make a shop on Shopify and sell whatever the hell I want. Like, agreed. I don't like going to that level of the host to do it because that is too deep for me. That is too far. I think. Do you
think there's any like liability at all? Like if no. So for Parler's like a lot of like planning and getting excited and kind of like organizing this whole craziness.
Planning is a good point.
So that happened a lot of it happened on Parler, and like at any point is Amazon, who's hosting the website, are they at all culpable for that, for giving them a voice?
No, legally, no.
Also,
that's a law. Well, no, legally they're not. Legally, if I have a sex trafficking website and I'm sex trafficking little kids, and it's hosted on some like GoDaddy, you can buy serving space from GoDaddy. No, GoDaddy is not responsible for that. I think what the deep web is though is like private servers where they allow that. But
a company like Parler should have its own infrastructure. It should be able to. It shouldn't need to be cloud based. You know what I mean? Should have like an on-prem.
And they'll probably do that.
but I mean, it was such a Parlor was such like a cesspool, like the bad parts. I'm sure there was normal people and
I never really went on there.
It was like, from what I've seen, and granted it's select screenshots, so I've seen the worst of it, but like it's bad stuff. It's bad, but it's bad stuff. So my big thing is like where like I think laws need to change, because like freedom of speech, that hasn't, like we need to define what that looks like online.
If the government is in charge of it and not these companies, then you can battle it in court. And I trust that more than I do with these private companies. I agree. I mean, the FCC doesn't allow cursing on TV. They have parental advisory on CDs. Like, I wouldn't hate the government. Like, we already have First Amendment laws. I wouldn't mind the government creating some type of bill of rights of free speech that is then applied to the social media companies. I'm sure the social media companies would like that, because then they don't have to make the decision. Now, one of the things I was going to say is like the obvious part of this is these companies seem to be more left-wing companies.
I mean, no question. Very a huge double standard. And
the double standard element, like, is there any left-wing stuff that's been taken down? I mean, so what about this comparison? I'm not comparing like Black Lives Matter versus, because they definitely did some damages in their protests. Like the Black Lives Matter protests lasted very long, and the worst people in that crowd did riot and loot and break down buildings, and that part is obviously not acceptable. But like all these social media companies, like you could easily change your profile picture to Black Lives Matter. Like now there's not really a level of that in the storming the Capitol thing, because of course Black Lives Matter and everyone believes in social justice and it's the right thing to get behind. Like, yeah, of course. And like, so they were just taking that element of it. If you wanted to take out the good parts of this, like, what would it be? Like,
there isn't
freedom of speech, or like,
but like the movement of Black Lives Matters, like, is a call, like it is a positive cause, right? Social justice, like no matter where you stand on it, I can't imagine you disagree. It's
a positive cause, of course. I mean, I don't like it as far as like it's beating a dead horse, but like, and then, but whatever. Of course, I want everyone to have a fair shot at justice. Everyone does.
Is not right, but this one,
right. So if you even wanted to get behind this on a positive level, what could you get behind? And in that case, I give like the social media companies like a break there a little bit, but like they didn't need to go so into that other thing either, which they did, which proves their bias.
Right. As much as I hate Trump, and like we've talked about that a lot, you and I, and even on the podcast, when I first saw that he was kicked off Twitter, I was like, I don't think I like that, because
I don't like that it's a permanent ban. I think it should be a temporary.
Sure, right, exactly, and I get that, but I think, like we were saying, there needs to be like an amendment, or there needs to be some sort of legal, like,
you need to be able to go to court to fight against it. Yeah.
What is and what is not allowed.
Right. And right now they're just saying they're private companies. The other thing that's interesting is with this element is like the Russia thing, which like we said was stupid, but like the votes are the ads, right? The Facebook ads element of it. Like, so one thing like Sacha Baron Cohen said was, he said Facebook's a terrible company, like they would let Hitler buy ads. No, they wouldn't, because what Facebook said at this time where this came out was that we're not in charge of, if you come out with a hate ad, like they're allowed on TV, like basically against your opponent, right? My opponent is terrible. You're allowed to put those ads on TV. And political ads, now you need to be verified as an account that they've got to go to a lot of verification on Facebook. This is from personal experience. To make a political ad, you got to go through a lot of verification to prove that you are part of a campaign. But they're saying it's not our job to, once we approve of a campaign, Andrew Yang's campaign, Hillary Clinton's campaign, this is their official page. It's not for us to allow them what they can say or not. That's what Facebook was saying. And I agree with that. I get so mad when the people said that Russia came out with fake ads and that influenced everyone's votes. Well, let the people like see it and then make their own decisions from it. Like, people, yes, people are stupid, but like, aren't they seeing the ads from the other side too? I mean,
no,
Michael Bloomberg put millions of TV ads before in certain states. Like,
yeah, but you like, surely you know the difference between a Facebook ad that's like, say it's a false claim or something. Like, you know how the algorithm.
But it says sponsored. And so like, if the things
pay attention to that.
If they do,
because it's like an echo chamber.
if the things in Michigan, if the elections in Michigan and all the politicians are pumping their Facebook ad money, they are going to go to that Facebook ad. They're going to choose the target state of residents who live in Michigan, and then they're going to pump sponsored ads at that state. So people will see them on both sides, and it will say sponsored. So that is the fact that it says sponsored is basically a commercial. And, dude, like, I'm surprised that we have a viral post on my Facebook page for this podcast right now that says, "Is America a great country?" There's like 400 ads. I'm very surprised that Facebook even allowed me to run that, because I've had a lot of ads not allowed to run because they just say something in there like, I had this one that was about, we talked about people leaving California because of bad politics. I had this guy from California on, we were talking about it, put a clip up on Facebook. I wanted to like promote a little bit, and they wouldn't let me do it. And I was like, dude, what? And they said I needed to be like politically affiliated, and like I sent in like a picture of my ID to get the affiliation. They were like, no. And like, there's all these rules. Even I remember more when I had the United T site, we had this thing, it was a presidents, and it was like Lincoln and like Teddy Roosevelt, and we had Trump on there, and like as to sell to that audience. And I was like, this is great, because we're going to run an ad for this tank top. We're going to target it to people who liked the Trump campaign from 2016 and stuff like that. I could not even run an ad with a picture of him in it. Like, they already have a lot of censorship built into it. So like when Sacha Baron Cohen said Hitler could run ads, like, I don't think he knows what he's talking about. He never tried to run an ad in his life, but that's a censorship element, like the ads. And I think Facebook does a pretty good job with it, where they make you be part of a campaign and then they let you do whatever you want.
So you're saying that you can't run a political ad unless you're affiliated with a campaign?
You have to go through a certain verification to get accepted to be able to run political ads at all on Facebook.
But what if, like, if they don't check the ads that you're running, why do you have to say that it's going to be a political ad? Why can't you just
They have an algorithm. They have an algorithm that picks out certain words.
Understood.
Like Trump.
And they always have?
They always have. And I remember with that shirt, right? I was like, okay, I got to take the word Trump out of this. They still were able to figure it out. I don't know if they have a scan of his face. Yeah. Over the past 3 weeks, Facebook has a thing on top of their ad thing that just says, no ad, no promotion at all that has anything about Trump or anything in it will be allowed to be run until the inauguration's over, or the election's over. Like, they get a lot of shit for it. I think they do a good job to verifying people's campaigns and then allowing anything to run from that. But like, you can't just go on Facebook and promote anything you want. And the way Facebook specifically works is that people are only going to see it if you run an ad. I mean, they really control what's at the top of your feed. Instagram controls what's at the top of your feed. Now even Twitter does it, but it's a little more organic. As if this is someone you like, they'll show it to you. The algorithm does that. And if the person's saying something bad,
shadow bans and stuff,
it'll show up first. Yeah, so they shadow ban, like.
But if you like a bunch of the same type of content, then you're going to see pretty much just that. I mean, obviously, that's how
that is what the algorithm will do. Yes.
So that's why people start to see, when they say echo chamber, like, they start to see nothing but their own opinions. So,
and that's what's good about ads is if Michael Bloomberg, for example, wants to go to Michigan and he wants to put it in your feed, he can put it in your feed, even if the only thing on your natural algorithm is. So they get a chance to get in there, but just. They've gone too far with this shit, man. Like,
I'm gonna say this: like, I don't think there's gonna be another person like Trump that like all the platforms hate that much. Like I hope so, but like,
that's
just they all join together to hate Trump, and I just don't see another person that's gonna be that hated. If there is, that's not a good sign for America.
The thing is, like, he got
75 million votes.
Right, but
he
also
had
the
left, I guess, yeah.
Like, this didn't happen until he like incited this, encourages, whatever you want to call it, like this,
right? Until this happened,
right? Which that would be like what they would consider a direct call to violence. Which, say what you will about it, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, and I think
he definitely incited it,
right? So then that needs to stop. So I get that, you know what I mean? I get that. It's so, yeah. I think ultimately, like, something needs to be drafted. There needs to be rules, because there aren't any. It's the Wild West, and it's been, and like, the internet's not going anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, I could see this being the case in 2001, but it's 2020, 2021, and it's still so much gray area. So I think they need to get that figured out.
As much as people are like, I don't want the government in my business, blah, 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 blah. The government, like, we don't want the government in charge of healthcare. We don't want the government. I'd rather have the government in charge of these rules than some Facebook executive
Or
Twitter
don't.
executive.
Or don't complain about it. You know what I mean?
Or don't what?
Or don't have the government involved, but then you can't complain when Twitter bans Trump. So you can't have it both ways. You know what I mean?
Like,
The people that
or
are
just
complaining about the government being
these
involved.
platforms allow everything. They create algorithms. They can do that for their business models, but then they don't have the right to ban anything.
Well, that would have the government be involved. I'm saying, like, you
Right.
can't have it both ways. You have to either have government regulate somehow, or
Let the
you
companies do
can't
it.
complain and let them ban whoever they want.
But the people, right. So we gotta put that in place. I don't hear enough people talking about that.
Me neither, at all.
I'm sure it's complex.
But isn't that what these lawmakers are supposed to be doing?
Right.
Like, how many times are they going to hash out like all this stupid shit that doesn't affect anyone? Like, this is something that I think is like a huge priority that needs to be squared away, because
Huge priority.
it ain't going anywhere. More and more people
Yeah.
are online, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And censorship, and we don't want too much power anywhere. We want to distribute it, and they couldn't ban my Facebook page for Dubfest, and that was a feeling of, you can't take this away from me. And like, imagine if that could get taken away from you. It's complicated, it's messy, but on this podcast, our summary is that we want the government to moderate free speech on social media platforms, so they're in charge, not
even
various
moderate,
executives.
just establish the rules.
Establish. Right.
Everything else,
And
they
then-
don't have to go comb through everything, but establish what is and is not allowed, and then take it from there. But the way that the law was written, freedom of speech, hundreds of years ago, does not still apply. There's so much that has changed, and namely social media is now basically media. There's no difference between Twitter
right.
from with Trump and Fox News. So,
and I think it's interesting, like, why the First Amendment is so important, because we don't think about it as much as Americans, but hearing other people from, like, even Canada, Brandon's favorite country, that say, like, it's a scary thing when the government starts governing speech, like what you can say and stuff like that. Like, I always took it for granted, but like, why do you think the First Amendment is important?
And there always has. There's always been exceptions. Like, you can't run into a movie theater and shout fire. That's illegal. So like, freedom of speech doesn't mean you can say anything without consequences. It means, like, if you're allowed to voice your opinion, but if you're inciting violence, if you know, like, that needs to change. But it's important because you can't be silencing differing opinions, like, as long as they're not directly leading to people rioting or violence. You can't say everyone go kill Sean. Of course not. But you can say Sean is the worst because of X, Y, and Z, and the government shouldn't be allowed to stop you. And they don't. So complex,
interesting, and poor Trump, man. Like, I bet you he's like,
so happy.
I bet you he grabs his phone to like tweet something, and then he's like, "Damn it!" And
do you
then
think
he's like, he's
Melania's
so flustered?
Melania's out of there? You think?
Yeah,
dude. I always
divorced.
I've been so confused by what Melania's thinking. I think they'll probably get divorced.
Like, how soon?
Melania think?
Probably
within
like
a year
next
and a
week.
half.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is it gonna be like Thursday?
Yeah, like pretty soon. Yeah, and I am one of the. The news and politics has always been boring. Come on, and like, everyone started to care with Trump, and like, I feel like it's gonna be boring again with Biden, which is good, and we've said this. The only thing I'm interested about in the future is like, what is Trump gonna do for me?
What happens to Trump? So here's the thing.
What's he gonna do?
He's been on such a crazy power trip. Like, this, maybe this, like, I don't know if humbled him is the right word, but like, we're taking it all away. Like people warned you this was going to happen if you keep going crazy, dude. And you've been crazy, and like, nobody's been able to do anything. But guess what? Now you're not president. Now you can't tweet.
I wouldn't be surprised if he still attempts or tries to have some type of rallies. And I'm not sure if it will have the same appeal.
I mean,
without the power of the White House behind it.
Right. But that's kind of what presidents do, right? They continue like speaking engagements and appearances and stuff. What about do you think he has a burner?
Yeah, people
seriously.
I mean, I'm sure he can still see other tweets, but like, I bet you he has a burner. But
I would love to see that.
He's not the kind of. I bet you he doesn't go to Twitter to like read what people say.
Did y'all see that
He
there
needs
was
to
a
get these
video
thoughts out.
released after all he was banned? Like there was another video
Hmm?
release. I don't know how who hosted that or how he got the video.
I was like the White House.
The White
It.
House, yeah, the executive branch of the government.
Okay,
he can
so
still
he can use the White House. Yeah,
he can use the White House,
the
but like
next
there's
4
a big
days.
difference. There's a big difference, especially for him, between a rehearsed speech and a toilet thought. Like he really does treat Twitter the way a lot of people treat Twitter, which is just like potty, like garbage thoughts from your brain, like just like I need to get this out, and like you can tell he's always like there's been days where he did like 200 retweets, like he is always thinking about his job and the presidency. No one would say that he is lazy. Like the people that say he's golfing too much, he's lazy. He's not lazy.
He does golf a lot, but like,
but like he's on the golf course thinking about like he's just getting a little break. He's not lazy. He's not lazy. He is a fucking hard-working person who's got the curse of never being able to like drink or relax. Like he never relaxes. Like I feel like he might like
a drinker. Does anyone know? Does he drink? Like
no, he doesn't drink at all. He's never drank alcohol, and like that's been like confirmed by even like that guy Michael Cohen who like turned on him. Mm-hmm. His brother died of alcoholism. I am fascinated by people who are regular people, fun people, and like don't drink at all. I love that. Like I really think those people are cool. Like. Interesting that he doesn't drink. And it kind of makes me like him a little bit. I feel like it probably helped him got elected a little bit with like the evangelical type people. But even just thinking about your president being drunk at like 3 a.m. and they get a call that's like important, like I think it helped him a little bit that he was sober. But he's crazy enough, and I've heard him say, "Can you imagine if I was a drinker?" Like that. But yeah, it'll be cool to see where he goes. And I think we need to watch the censorship, and it's an ongoing debate in American life.
Yes, they plan to move to Canada. All right.
I almost forgot. If you really enjoyed the clip, if you really enjoyed the podcast, one thing I would appreciate more than anything, just hit the little subscribe button. And I have hours and hours of podcast footage talking to some of the best entrepreneurs out there on YouTube. Watch some more of them. Check out this. Go ahead and binge. Have some fun. I love you. Thanks for watching.